Hi, and welcome to this episode. My name is Calle. I work as a building engineer in south of Sweden, and I also run my own small little company. I perform a lot of home inspections or building surveying. I also run my own small little YouTube channel in Swedish where I discuss houses and typical problems we have. I got the idea from my friend that maybe I should try and dub the episodes into English, and that's just what I've done now with the first episode about crawl space. As you're going to note, the lips are not syncing because it's dubbed from Swedish to English. Still, I hope you enjoy the content of the episode. If you do, please like and subscribe, then I know you'll like what I'm doing and I'm gonna continue to upload videos. Enjoy it!
Hi, my name is Calle and I work as a home inspector or house surveyor at CAC. Welcome to this film that is about home inspection or house surveying. CAC perform home inspections in south of Sweden in Skåne. Today we are going to talk about crawl space and moisture problems. Come along! Crawl space is so much more than just a type of foundation for me as a building nerd. It is building physics and its application at your fingertips to understand the problems. This is a book called Practical Building Physics, written by Kenneth Sandin at Lund University here in Skåne. And this is actually my favorite book, because in just under 200 pages, Kenneth can explain almost anything you need to know about moisture in houses and why crawl spaces often have problems. The crawl space have been along for many hundreds of years in Sweden, like for instance this old house I'm sitting next to from the 1850s. And have worked well as a foundation, even if it had its problem with thermal comfort for the persons living in the house. Okay, now we are going to go down into this modern crawl space from the 80s. Outside it's summer and it's a lovely 28 degrees here in Sweden. Now we are down in the crawl space and we have left an air humidity measurement instrument here for a while. And now I can read on the display that it reads 16.5 degrees Celsius and a relative humidity of about 90%. The modern crawl space was introduced in Sweden in the 1950s and became a very popular foundation to build houses on. Almost every third house in Sweden is built on a crawl space, but it soon turned out that the crawl space had its problems with high moisture levels and mold. Today the crawl space is considered a risk construction, but it does not necessarily mean that it is bad to have a house with a crawl space if you look after it frequently and if needed make changes in due time. To easier understand what I'm going to explain to you about moisture in crawl spaces, I am now going to hand you over to myself at a flip chart. Thank you, Calle. Now we are going to look at building physics to understand why the crawl space have problems with high moisture levels and mold. Here I have nicely drawn a house with a crawl space and I'm now going to explain this. The first thing we need to understand is that air can hold different amount of water vapor depending on the temperature of the air. If we look at this graph, we have temperature on this axis and on the other axis we have gram of water per cubic meter of air. At a low temperature, the air can contain a little amount of water vapor. If we go to a higher temperature, the air can contain much more water vapor. Okay, great. Let's look at an example to understand this. Let's say the outside air in the winter is 0 degrees. The graph gives us that the air maximum can hold 5 grams of water per cubic meter of air. Okay, and now let's take summer instead. We measured earlier 28 degrees Celsius outside. At this temperature, the air can maximum hold 27 grams of water per cubic meter of air. But the air is not always saturated to its maximum 100%. Let's say we measure the actual water vapor content in the air on this summer day to be 18 grams of water per cubic meter of air. The temperature was 28 Celsius. Then we can divide the actual water vapor in the air with what the air maximum can hold at that temperature, which was 27 grams of water per cubic meter of air. This gives us a relative humidity of 68% on that summer day. Relative humidity. Okay, but what about the crawl space? Let's get back to the issue. In the winter, the air outside is cold and dry. This cold air is ventilated down into the crawl space and cools the foundation, but also dries the crawl space. The foundation gets cold, but mostly the whole ground gets cooled off, which creates like a big mass that will keep it cold for a long time. And then the lovely Swedish summer arrives, the weather gets warmer again, the temperature rises, humidity rises, we start hanging by the pool again. Now this hotter and more humid summer air is being ventilated down into the crawl space. But the crawl space, it's still cold from the winter. You can actually feel this if you go down into the foundation in the summer. What do you say, Calle? Yes, it's actually quite pleasant down here. It's cool and nice, but it also feels a bit damp. Exactly! And now the hot humid summer air is going down into the crawl space with the 18 grams of water per cubic meter of air. The hot outside air goes into the foundation, and the foundation we had measured at 16.5 degrees Celsius, and at this temperature the air can maximum hold 14 grams of water vapor per cubic meter of air. So 18 grams per cubic meter is entering, but the crawl space can maximum hold 14. What happens then? Condensation. The relative humidity in the foundation now is 100% and condensation is dripping and rinning in the crawl space. Note that the air can't be saturated above 100%. We ventilated 18 grams per cubic meter of air into the foundation, and the air in the foundation could maximum hold 14 grams per cubic meter. Everything between 14 and 18 becomes condensation. Okay, so when is it risk for mold in the foundation? Well, typically we say the risk starts from about 70 to 75% relative humidity in the ground, which is normally during the summer. Also note that moisture is not only added via the outside air. Moisture could also come from the living space above, it could come from rainwater, or it could also naturally come from moisture from the ground. If you have a house with a crawl space or are planning to buy a house with a crawl space, then the first thing you should inspect is the foundation to see any signs of moisture damage. The second thing you should do is to install a moisture measure device to keep track of the relative humidity. Above 75% means there is a risk of damage. The latest research shows that it's almost impossible to fix a crawl space by just adding a plastic foil or insulation. The best thing is usually to install a professional dehumidifier. Hope you've appreciated this film from CAC in Sweden, and don't forget to inspect your crawl space twice per year. And don't forget, the crawl space is not meant to be a storage area. Thank you for watching this film, I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe, then I know you like what I do and I will continue to do more films like this one. If you need any help with a home inspection, I recommend reading reviews online before deciding. See ya!